Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez did not mince words when she called out Senator Suzanne Collins for going after Democrats for voting down this corporate slush fund bill that went its way through the Senate. So now let me tell you what Suzanne Collins had said in a speech on the floor of the Senate. She said, quote, "I cannot believe that the answer to this crisis is a move to address the economic consequences that are so severe for the people of this country that the answer from our friends on the other side of the aisle is delay, delay, delay. No sense of urgency, no sense of worry. Here we are facing an enemy that is invisible, but devastating to the health of our people and to the health of our economy. And yet, unbelievably, the Democratic leader objected to my even being able to speak this morning." Oh, really? Oh, you seem to be on the floor speaking without a problem. So I don't understand what you're talking about. But she says, "Is this what we've come to? The Democratic leader objected to our convening at 9 a.m. this morning so that we could begin working in earnest. We don't have another day. We don't have another hour. We don't have another minute to delay acting. How can any of us want to see millions of Americans lose their paychecks, their health insurance, their contributions to their retirement plans? We have a package that's part of this broader legislation." So now here's the thing, right? So millions of Americans have already lost their paychecks. They've already lost their health insurance because they're not working anymore, right? And so, hey, you know what would actually solve that? At least on the health insurance front, Medicare for all. This is why we said universal health care under a single-payer healthcare system that didn't involve private insurance or employer-based insurance would help in a situation like this. I remember making the argument several weeks ago, right, during the Nevada primary. It seems like forever ago. I know, right? I was talking about, well, okay, look, what if you lose your health insurance? What if you lose your job? You might like your insurance now, but if you lose your job, if we have an economic downturn or whatever, God knows what would happen, right? And you lose that, you're not going to have your health insurance. And then what are you going to do? This is what single payer is supposed to prevent. And here we are in a situation which would have been helped by single payer. People would not lose their health insurance. Look, I did a story last week where a woman who tested positive for COVID-19 got a medical bill for her treatment of $34,000. If that doesn't make the case for Medicare for all, I don't know what does, especially during an emergency. But anyway, enough of the Medicare for all angle. And that's not, again, what mainly the criticism here. AOC, in fact, has different criticism. She says, Suzanne Collins can keep her crocodile tears. I already love the way that this starts. She voted and fought hard to strip pandemic prep funding. She helped drive the lack of preparation that we had leading up to this. Now, remember, the Trump administration fired the pandemic response team. Obama's team that he put together to fight against this stuff, the stuff that's happening now, he got rid of. I mean, he's tried to cut the National Institute of Health, tried to cut the CDC. And so everything that the Trump administration has done has actually made us less prepared for this crisis, for a crisis of this magnitude. And so congratulations. And you know who was all helping Donald Trump during that time, all while giving gigantic $1.9 trillion in tax cuts for the rich? Suzanne Collins. Of course. Of course. Now, the Daily Beast had an article that AOC pointed to. And in that article, it showed how Collins helped remove or proposed additional $870 million in funding for pandemic preparations from the economic stimulus package that was passed during the Great Recession back in 2008. So Suzanne Collins was like, hey, all that pandemic preparation, get rid of it. Oof, no, we don't need that in the budget. No, let's bail out the banks because that's the most important thing right now. Banks, rich people, donors. Now, AOC then went on the attack even harder. She says, quote, what's actually disgraceful is her "I'm a moderate lady" dance to cover up brutal policies and votes. She's defending an utterly corrupt bill to shower public money on friends and donors. Suzanne Collins is not a moderate. She just plays one on TV. Damn. That is awesome. Like I said in another segment, the bill itself was pretty awful. It was full of corporate giveaways, some of which, of course, might end up in Donald Trump's pocket, and we wouldn't know until 6 months later when they actually reveal who they gave that money to. It's basically a slush fund for Mr. Steven Mnuchin, administered by Steven Mnuchin. And so, of course, he's going to bail all of his friends, including the president, who right now, I don't know if you know this, but the president has not divested from his businesses, and his business is hotels and golf courses. Places that you really don't want to go during a pandemic. So they're struggling. And by the way, they were struggling before financially, to be fair, but they're probably struggling even more now. And so here's Mnuchin. If he gets that slush fund that was in this bill, he's going to shovel a lot of money towards Donald Trump and his properties. Goes right into Donald Trump's pockets. I mean, it's so ridiculously brazen. And then to come out and say, I can't believe you are blocking this relief for the American people. How dare you, Democrats? Absolute rank hypocrisy. No, what we need to do, by the way, is maybe since we're having gridlock, we cannot get a comprehensive package. I mean, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to put, corporate giveaways and things to help the broader economy, and small business and big business as well. And they're trying to put that together with the package that's going to help the American people with unemployment insurance. And that's one of the goals of the Democrats, increase unemployment insurance. And the Republicans' idea is also to give direct cash assistance to every American family. I think that's a good idea. I think it's temporary UBI. A lot of progressives have also talked about this. In fact, what we need to do is we need to separate those things. Why can't we have a bill that just addresses regular American workers, right? And a separate bill designed for small business relief? I mean, have them at least argue over two different things, but let's get the first thing started, help for the American people. I don't know if if you noticed the date, right? It's getting really close. We got a little bit more than a week until rent's due in a lot of different places. So if people don't get immediate relief now, they're not going to be able to make their rents. So much for social distancing and stay-at-home orders. You can't really stay at home if you're getting evicted. I'm just saying. But one thing that would help was recently introduced by Representative Rashida Tlaib of Michigan. And I love it. It's called the Automatic Boost to Communities Act. And what it would do is it would deliver a $2,000 prepaid debit card to every American, with $1,000 being paid monthly after that until a year after the crisis ends. So that's amazing. So now that would understand who this helps, by the way. People who are unbanked. I know a lot of the current solutions to sending cash payments is, well, okay, we'll send the cash payment, but we'll do it to your bank based on your 2018 taxes, right? And it's a way that the Democrats want to means test and do all this garbage, right? And Republicans want to means test this as well. Tlaib says, no means testing. No, we're going to skip that bullshit, and we're going to send you a prepaid debit card. So it helps those who are unbanked, right? I'm not sure how they would get them to the homeless and that community as well. There's got to be a way for that. But homeless, disabled, they would still get that money. And that would go a long way to helping every American be able to sustain themselves during this crisis. And that's the point. That is something that we could do right now. By the way, Tlaib says that we can pay for the program by allowing the Treasury to use its authority under the federal law to issue $2 trillion platinum coins. That move would not add to the national debt. I don't know how that works, but apparently that is something that they can do, to issue $2 trillion, $2 trillion platinum coins, and then use the money to disperse it to regular people. Now, the bill also uses a broad definition of every person, including non-citizens, they get money too, children and other dependents, those in territories and protectorates, and those without bank accounts, which of course makes sense because it would be a preloaded debit card. Now, that's one thing, right? Another thing we should do is, of course, put a moratorium on rents and mortgages. We should put huge stipulations on any industry that we give taxpayer money to, even if it's low interest loans. And so these are good ideas. More corporate welfare, especially without rules, and giant slush funds for the rich, those don't help anybody. Those don't help the American people. Suzanne Collins should be ashamed of herself for trying to defend this garbage legislation. We should be doing these more progressive ideas instead of trying to bail out companies like cruise lines, airlines, the candy industry. Come on, guys. And hotels without any idea where it's going, how much is going there, and who it's actually benefiting. It is a disastrous piece of legislation, and AOC is absolutely right to call her out on it. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.